911 emergency, what are you reporting?
911, what's your emergency? This is 911 emergency, what are you reporting?
You're listening to another great episode of We Speak Dispatch, sponsored by our friends at Watson.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another great episode of We Speak Dispatch. Because if we're speaking dispatch, hey, you know what? We're talking right to you. So you should be listening, telling your friends all about our podcast because it's always got great topics and interesting quotes and comments and things like that you can always take back and talk to your friends about. So joining us today is our usual suspects. We've got John over there. John, how goes life in your part of the world?
It is great. Thank you.
Great. And Jill, how goes it on your nice new deck out there?
I'm loving my porch. It's amazing. I can actually sit outside and not duck and dodge wasps as they fly by.
No
If you look back at previous episodes, you see me ducking and diving around wasps. And now I can sit down and do them and not do that.
Always a nice thing out there. And joining us today is a guest who contacted us and said, hey, I'd like to talk about a very interesting topic that I'm sure a lot of you have thought about, heard about, maybe experienced yourselves. It's ADHD and the Comm Center, and that's our special guest is Jeremie. Jeremie, how are you today?
I am doing great and had a very typical ADHD afternoon, evening, which I was hoping not to have, but
are you talking because of the technical difficulties we had initially?
Well, that and just leading up to the podcast, wanting to get things done. But, the one thing with ADHD, whether you're on medication or not, is our motivators are typically stuff like urgency. I needed to get my den, which is not huge. It's 8 by 12, 8 by 14, straightened up before, I got online with you guys.
Okay.
But then it was like, you know what? I have a...
Jeremie, how long have you been on? I forgot to ask you that right at the very beginning. How long
I've been dispatching for 32 years.
Oh my goodness, 32 years. How many agencies did you work for? Is there like a number of them, or did you work with the same agency the whole time, or what?
No, I've worked for a number of them. I get ants in my pants, which is pretty common with ADHD. So I've worked for small communities. I've went over to Kuwait in 04 and 05 and set up the 911 center for the U.S. military over there. Came
Did
home.
You say Kuwait, like the country Kuwait?
Yep, the country Kuwait in the combat zone in 04, 05.
I don't think there is.
Yeah.
Well, Jeremie, let me ask you this, because our topic is so, I think it's relative to our business. I mean, being in comm center, stuff like that, and all of us have so much experience in that thing. When you first started dispatching, did you experience this ADHD? Has it always been with you, or is it something that just came on, or what?
I wasn't officially diagnosed with ADHD until 2003.
Oh, wow.
So months before I went over to Kuwait. For some reason, 2002, 2003, there seemed to be a huge campaign on ADHD awareness on TV. And I kept watching the commercials, and everything just kind of started to connect and hit home and make sense. And they had a website you could go and do a basic test. And I took it, and it said, yeah, you should get, diagnosed. And the reason why I took that seriously is it wasn't one of those, yes, you need to get diagnosed, call us. It was, yeah, you need to get diagnosed. Here is a link to find, services within your area, that can take care of that. And in my part of Western Mass, there was Easter Seals and believe it or not, at ADHD Center of Western Massachusetts.
Oh, wow. I had one.
So,
Jeez.
yeah. So I went there and went through a exhausting testing, which a lot of it has to do with history. So I went back all the way from early elementary school, behavioral issues, focus issues, everything and anything that I could think of. I put it all out on the table.
What would you say to people that are in the dispatch center now that think they may be experiencing something like that? What would you give them advice to do?
First thing is you need to get diagnosed. Just because you think you have ADHD and just because you check a lot of the boxes doesn't mean you are. It just doesn't mean you are. You need to get diagnosed. You need to get diagnosed by either an organization or a individual that specializes in ADHD, not just your general practitioner or any regular psychiatrist or psychologist. It needs to be somebody who.
Did you say Easter Seals had something going on?
Easter Seals. Yeah,
Really?
Easter Seals. Yeah, Easter Seals will diagnose, because when I was working for an ambulance service, they asked me to get re-diagnosed. And same thing, it was an individual who that's all he deals with is ADHD patient.
Oh, wow. That's a specialist.
I didn't think Easter Seals did that kind of thing.
Yeah. Easter Seals also will help people on the spectrum with things like job training or preparing to get your driver's license.
I would think this kind of job that we've all been in is got to be a I don't know what you call it, like a triggering thing for ADHD or something, because it seems like we're doing so many things same time, high pressure situations going on. I mean, it just seems like it would really cause a lot of issues.
Before you answer that, it probably goes into my question. So you got your diagnosis probably 10 years into your 911 career, about 10 years?
Yeah, about that.
I'm just doing rough math. So how is the 10 years before and the 20 years after, how is that different? Did you notice a difference in your work and your productivity or your yourself after you were diagnosed prior to being diagnosed?
Yeah, because I made mistakes that I don't think I would have made once I was on medication, once I was receiving treatment. And when I mean treatment, I'm talking about counseling, medication management, stuff like that. Prime incidents. The department I was working at before I went to Kuwait, I misinterpreted what the caller said as her son wasn't listening to her. It wound up being what he was telling me was that her son was unresponsive. I think we all know what that could have led to.
Yeah.
I knew John O'Connor, the chief in that town, for many years because he was a sergeant in my hometown. And I actually did. I went upstairs and I submitted my resignation. He said, "No, I'm not accepting it."
I mean, people make mistakes. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is something you have to deal with sometimes about that.
Yeah, but the problem with ADHD is we beat up ourselves more than anybody else, and we beat up ourselves more than anybody else will beat us up. There's a lot of things like we have a very, very hard time with criticism. We have a very hard time with like breakups. I forgot exactly what the name of the term is, but there is actually a medical diagnosis where people with ADHD just have a very, very hard time with stuff like that. So, I was working at another job where I would make little stupid mistakes, and I would sit there under my breath, beating myself up. I always had negative track, major self-esteem issues, so I'm beating myself up verbally. Calling myself an effing this, and to the point where my co-workers were thinking I was talking crap about them under my breath. So
this would be at the console. This would be at the console at work.
Yeah. So I went and I talked to the manager, and she knew I had ADHD, and I explained to her, what it was. I said, I have no problem with them. I have no problem with them saying, Jeremie, you missed this or whatever. I said, I'm not cursing them out. I'm beating myself up.
Yeah.
Is there support groups out there for this condition, or?
There is so much out there for people with ADHD. The problem is so much of what's out there is outdated. Things that just don't work. Think of it like, we will be told, okay, try this, get this brand new ADHD specialized planner, start using it, and we hyper focus and we do it and we nail it and we're going at it, and then all of a sudden we fall off the wagon. And that's with everything that we do. So these traditional ways of working with your ADHD, in understanding it, whether it's as an adult or as a child, just aren't working. So I focus on finding professionals that either have conducted studies or talk about studies that are like 5-8 years old, that are well-defined, backed up, and are rock solid. One of the things is time blindness. People with ADHD have time blindness. That's one reason why I have, my watch, my phone, my computers. Every room has stuff. I'm constantly asking Alexa what time it is. I was talking to Ricardo Martinez a couple of weeks ago, and I knew it was morning, but as I'm saying good morning, I'm looking at my clock because I just was not quite sure.
I think maybe sometimes we've done that when they have the time change.
Yeah.
So,
hey, do your comm centers make special arrangements for you with your, do you need special accommodations or?
ADHD does fall under ADA.
Oh, it does. I didn't know.
Do you get extra breaks? Do you get
I have never, in our industry, I have never asked for accommodations. I did in the private sector once, and I firmly believe that is what eventually, if I talked about 4-6 weeks after requesting it, my job was outsourced.
Oh, wow.
So, I don't have a problem talking about it. I am a leader. I am a director. I am an instructor. So I talk about it. I advocate.
So are you still working in a comm center right now?
Right now, I am not. I am looking at moving back to Massachusetts, Eastern Massachusetts, for family reasons. So in a time being, I'm just, trying to get, information like, stuff about ADHD, in our industry out. Back when MySpace was a thing, when I first got diagnosed with ADHD, somebody posted that he was leaving the career because he has ADHD and he doesn't feel that he can do the job. And I was not able to get in touch with her because I wanted to tell her, hold on, hold your horses. That is not true. We do. So I've done it as a dispatcher. I've done it as a dispatcher in a combat zone. I have done it for somewhat larger cities, 100, 120,000. I've done it as a dispatcher, a call taker. I've done it as an instructor, as a manager, as a director, as a leader.
Jeremie, I forgot to ask you, and you may have said it, and I'm sorry I missed it. What did you go to Kuwait for? Were you in the military? Were you in a?
No, I was headhunted by the U.S. Army to go over to set up the Fire and Emergency Services Communication Center for the U.S. military over at Camp Arifdan.
Wow.
Over at Camp Arifdan, which by the time I left, wound up being the entire Kuwait theater. So instead of being Camp Arifdan Fire and Emergency Services Communications, it wound up being Area Support Group Kuwait.
Wow.
So it was, getting RFP for CAD 911 radio system.
What a great opportunity that must have turned into, man.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was a lot of work. It was,
I bet.
2 12-hour days, 2 12-hour overnights. My last 5 months were 12-hour shifts overnight, 7 days a week, the entire 5 months without a day off. And I actually had to leave because I wasn't even able to get time off to see the doctor that I had there for medication and stuff. And I was just like, either you need to start giving me a day off every couple of weeks, or here's my resignation.
Holy cow. Well, speaking of long shifts, our time is just about out. And I can't tell you, this is such a big topic. My goodness, this is a big one. That we'll have to have you back another date to get you on here to talk a little bit about actually how we kind of improve this and get better at this kind of a thing. Because I have to plead my ignorance of this topic. I'm not 100% sure, about ADHD. And I think it would be nice to have you come and tell us, the layman's terms of how it actually is part of this job out there. So we definitely.
I would love to have you back to talk about your time in Kuwait. I think that would
I am happy to come back as often as you all want. I know Ricardo and I will be probably starting to plan to do a roundtable. Probably won't actually get it recorded till after the new year, but after his I forgot what it's called. Dare to be Great.
Yeah, that would be lovely.
First week of December, he and I are going to start, talking and putting together, a roundtable. I'm hoping to get Tracy Eldridge involved.
We're good friends with him, so if you guys set this thing up, we'll be glad to promote it and bring you over here to talk about it and all that stuff. So it's a great time out there. So other than that, we definitely appreciate you coming by. We'll definitely reschedule to come back. We're always, hey, you know what, everybody, if you're not listening to these podcasts and getting this kind of great info, I don't know what the heck you're listening to. So right now, I saw the stats. We're at 26,000 podcast plays in over 40 countries have been listening to us. We are seen all over the place. And if you're not watching us, listen to us. If you're not listening to us, watch us. We're on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and every podcast platform you can think of. Once again, everybody, thanks, Jeremie, for coming by. Thanks, John. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Jeremie.
Thank you. Good to see you, Jeremie.
Have a good one. Have a good Thanksgiving. Everybody be safe out there.
Watson Consoles is a proud sponsor of the We Speak Dispatch podcast. For more information or to schedule a showroom tour, visit watsonconsoles.com.